All right. Speaking, moving quickly, our last piece of sort of news item here is some sort of off the beaten path. I mean, I follow OpenAI's news stuff pretty carefully, and I actually didn't catch this. Our good friend Tom Krazet over at Runtime, it
Hmm.
showed up in one of his newsletters, but I otherwise would have completely missed this. And this is that OpenAI sort of quietly made another enterprise push with some announcements. And I guess I'll call this a half-hearted enterprise push. We talked a lot about OpenAI sort of not wanting to be pinned down, of not having a clear direction in terms of, are they going after the enterprise? Are they ceding that to Anthropic and Microsoft? Are they really trying to be a public? The acquisition of Johnny Ive's company for 6 billion certainly put them down the path of like, we're competing with Apple with some kind of a device. We don't know what it is yet. And then they
Hmm.
make this announcement, right? And this announcement is, again, fairly quiet, but they introduced a bunch of new connectors for ChatGPT enterprise users that allows you to connect ChatGPT natively to Dropbox, Box, SharePoint, OneDrive, Google Drive, um, and effectively stick it there in the middle of the enterprise realm of being able to now use ChatGPT as this abstraction interface into your sort of corporate data sources. And not a whole lot of detail and not a whole lot of, how do they solve some of the very challenging enterprise issues around all of that, of doing all of that. But still left me sort of scratching my head. It's like, here I thought I had you guys figured out. I thought I knew where you're going. And
Hmm.
then we get this curveball. I mean, I don't know. So did you even catch this news and what was your take on it?
I did not catch this before you. We chatted about this right before the show, but it shows just how OpenAI is now having to promise to be everything to everyone, which makes sense when you raise 11 gazillion billion dollars like they have. Like they've raised more money than most public companies ever get to see. Like Informatica, gigantic enterprise company, just got bought for $8 billion, and OpenAI has like whatever, like 50 billion, 60 billion, like in cash, like committed to them, like just rate crazy amounts of numbers and crazy numbers that, and they have to promise to do everything. They're building data centers with SoftBank. They're building Johnny Ive AI devices. They're trying to take on the consumer space and the enterprise space, which tiny companies like Microsoft can tell you is really hard. Just look at the amount of money they lost on the Xbox year over year. They lost billions of dollars on that, trying to figure out the video game space, because even though a video game console is basically a computer, the consumer space is that different from the enterprise space. And now OpenAI is trying to do it all at once, and it all seems to be centered around Sam Altman, because he doesn't even have great lieutenants for each of these areas. I guess Johnny Ive might be one of the considered lieutenants here, but I don't know who his data center guy is. I don't know who his enterprise workspace guy is. Who is that person who's going to help with this? Because it cannot just be one person heading up all of this.
Yeah, I mean, he has brought on a couple lieutenants recently, and their names are escaping me, but with some decent pedigrees, and so I think that they're going through growing pains, or going through the growing process, I should say.
Mhm.
I think where I struggle with this is it feels sort of half-hearted. I mean, these are all related to basic data stores, right? So these are not the heavy lift. It's only going to go so far and not very far at that in the enterprise space. So it's sort of like a nod, right? They've got this. I think they had this enterprise package, the
Mhm.
subscription, and so it's like they have a nod towards it. But I still feel like it's not really clear. And again, what I struggle with is what's the real strategy here, right? I mean, they've got the open APIs. They obviously have the partnership with Microsoft. I mean, in full disclosure, we use the OpenAI via Azure, right? So we use it
Mhm.
through Microsoft, and that's one of our core LLMs. So there are 100% absolute enterprise use cases. They're just not in their sweet spot in terms of them delivering them directly. And I'm not sure. So I think if I'm in my CIO hat, it leaves me here sort of scratching my head, going, where do I play? Where do I place my bets?
Mhm.
And for me, the challenge is that it's just not clear. And so that whenever, for me anyway, ambiguity equals uncertainty, and uncertainty equals risk. And so, I look at this and it creates a risk factor. But then again, I don't know that I love betting against them. So, I'm stuck in a bit of a quagmire with it.
Yeah, it's hard to bet against OpenAI, but I just don't feel like this is a best in breed approach at a time when you have to be best in breed for OpenAI to deliver on the promises, basically. Because if OpenAI goes and does all this and they build even $1 billion a year business, that's a failure for them at the amount of money that they've raised.